Hey Bayside, Serge Visochen here, or Serge the Other. Some of you may know me. Um, so good to be with you guys. I know we're not in the same room, but we are here as a church for you all over video as we're all sheltering in place. Yeah, I just wanted to just give you guys some encouragement, maybe share some thoughts that's been kind of driving my world in this season of change that we're all faced as a country. And some of you may know that me and Anna just got married on March 6th, and that's been a blast. I will say, sheltering in place isn't the worst thing ever. She's actually helping me film this video, and I'm super thankful. She looks really beautiful doing it. Um, but it's really interesting. We we had our wedding and our honeymoon in this really interesting time where we got married prior to this pandemic, right, hitting on a massive scale, and we were on our honeymoon all throughout, this time as everything was unraveling. Just being with each other, having a great time, not so much focusing on anything outside of, in the outside world, staying aware but not paying attention too closely, and finding ourselves coming back home to a very different world than what we're used to. Um, you know, People, our close friends, losing their jobs, kids being out of school, just a completely different world than when we left. But what's very interesting in our story is that we actually, because we were entering this brand new season into, as we were entering into marriage, all of this just kind of for us felt like new life. This is just what life looks like now. Um, and and I think the reason there is and was so much peace is that we weren't necessarily referencing the old and thinking that the old is as it should be. We essentially entered into this brand new marriage and coming out of our honeymoon, our continuing life, and it just kind of feels like this is the new season God has for us. It looks much different. Work for us looks different. There are so many unanswered questions, but because there's this atmosphere in the room of like, hey, this is just new, we are not disappointed that it doesn't look the same as it did previously. And I feel like that's where disappointment takes root sometimes, is when we find ourselves comparing what's going on right now to what was going on a week ago or a month ago. We kind of define success as this like, well, all right, am I measuring up? Are things the way they used to be? And what I've been kind of thinking about is what are the things that are so important for me to have in my life as a constant, right? And as we kind of talk about all of this and how we're processing this, the one thing we come to is, well, the two things that are so important that remain, that, if they remain in our sight, are Jesus and each other. It's almost like if you take those two things away, then our world is falling apart. We almost have no anchor of consistency. It's almost like, but having those two things be present automatically just creates this sense of familiarity, this sense of peace. And so I just kind of want to encourage you that sometimes, we're so prone to bite from the tree of knowledge to know about what we need to be doing, how we need to be prepared, which is super important, and I think is absolutely something we should be doing. But what would it look like if we were eating from the tree of life and the truth and the well of truth that the Lord speaks over us, the same amount that we gain knowledge from the news, from the websites that we visit, and all the information that we get? What would it look like if we kind of laid down the need to feel like certain and have security in the things of this world, and kind of replaced it with the security in Him, who knows our story so much better than we do? Because I feel like in the season, in the midst of the chaos, Jesus kind of wants to become the one constant variable who we look to, because that's the one who's writing our story. And one of my favorite verses in this season has been Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And I feel like, as we're sheltering in place in this time of kind of stillness, the Father just wants to tend the garden of our heart. He wants to remind us of the things that it's about, to not look for confidence or security in these different things, and in making sure we have our stash of TP or to make sure we have 3 months of supplies, which I think are all incredible precautions. But what about our hearts? What are the things we need to feel peace in our hearts? And I think the reality is that fear can only die in the presence of His love. Fear is not replaced by security. Doubt is not dispositioned by assurance. The reality is peace is only found in the presence of divine love. It's found in His presence, and we are reminded of His plan for us when we are listening closely to hear Him speak. The constancy I think we're all looking for in this season of changes is actually the Father's presence, and He's the one who promises to never change, who was and is to come. So I just want to encourage you, as we're all staying aware of the circumstance in our country, as we're all facing the changes of, what does work look like? What does church look like for us right now? Hopefully you guys are all joining us online, and it's been so incredible to see the responses of people who are able to, watch and ask for prayer requests and communicate with our pastors and team and leadership. But as we face those changes, let's focus together as a church on just the Father's consistency and presence and promise to be with us, to take care of us, and to continue writing our story. And I think if we do that as a church, that is how we're going to impact our community and just change the world as we remain calm and almost peaceful, which I think right now would look completely crazy to the outside world, going, how are you able to be so fearless in such a fearful time? So I hope this message finds you well. I hope you guys are healthy. You guys are doing, your families are doing well. And if you need any prayer, anything from us, we're still open. The church is still functioning. It's powerful. And we love you all. Miss you.